guys, welcome back to another episode of the Better Together podcast for real estate agents. I'm Kiki King.
And I'm Brian Balisican.
And today we're talking about mentorship.
Yes, mentorship. That's something that it's not talked about a lot in business, right?
Yeah, but it's so important, right?
And it can take you to the next level. So
absolutely.
Today we have Rod Mukai, one of our partners here at Locations.
Yes.
Welcome, Rod.
Hi. Well, glad to be here.
Rod is one of the OGs of Locations. Licensed with Locations, licensed and a one company man, right?
Correct.
Only with Locations.
Only with Locations.
For 50 years. That's incredible. And Rod is also a pillar within our community. He's one of our partners. He was born in Honolulu, Hawaii, graduated from Farrington, yes. Right? Go Govs. And also, I thought it was interesting that you majored in marketing.
Yes.
Yeah? From UH, MBA in marketing, from California State University, and you were a captain in the U.S. Army.
Yes.
That's pretty amazing. You have a rich history.
Well, back then we all had
us.
to be part of ROTCs.
Okay, looking forward to it.
And also with us, we have Chad Takisue, a graduate from Iolani, MBA at UH. He used to be a real estate agent with the company. He moved himself up to partner, SVP of sales, and now Chief Operating Officer of the company. Welcome, Chad.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Well, today is going to be an exciting day, you guys. We're talking about mentorship again. So, Chad and Rod, I guess my first question for you guys is, what's the difference between coaching and mentorship?
Well, in both coaching and mentorship, I think the attempt is to help the person become better. But there's a difference between coaching and mentorship. With coaching, it's usually related to business. You know, how to strategize, how to plan, how to be more productive. Whereas mentorship is, although it deals with business aspects, the topics are more all-encompassing. I mean, there's no subject that is taboo. You can talk about many things. You know, Chad, I'd like to also tell them that there's a subtle difference between coaching and mentoring. You know, with coaching, most agents perceive that as a paid job. They're being paid to coach me. Whereas with mentoring, agents feel that that's the mentor giving of his time and his expertise. So there's a subtle difference there. And so both coaches and mentors need to understand the difference.
When the opportunity to get a mentor in your life appears, that's something I feel like people won't want to pass up, right?
They shouldn't, especially if the relationship can be a good one.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely.
Chad, any thoughts on that?
Yeah, I think also one aspect is that with coaching, you can have different coaches for different phases in your career, right? You might have a specialty, you know, when you're starting off in your career that fits best than another coach. With a mentor, the relationship is a little more everlasting. Maybe the frequency may not be as high as in certain phases of your career, but that relationship never disappears.
Never ends.
Yeah, never ends.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing. I mean, look at your relationship. Chad, you were mentored by Rod. When did your mentor-mentee relationship actually start? Can you tell us about how that started? How long it's been?
You can share a story, you know.
Yeah.
And then I'll have Rod add to it. But, you know, I was actually brought into the company by Rod. Really a chance meeting. He used to get his haircut at my uncle's barbershop. And just so happened, my mom came in to my uncle's barbershop one day, and Rod was there. And my mom was sharing with my uncle that, hey, Chad's looking to, you know, go into real estate full time. And this is transitioning from my previous career as a high school math teacher. And so Rod mentioned to my mom, hey, he should come check us out. And if he really wants to develop a career in real estate, you know, Locations might be a place he want to, you know, develop his career.
Yeah, I can add to that a little bit. Yeah, so Chad's mom happens to be the same age as I am. She went to Roosevelt and I went to Farrington. So we knew of each other. So when she came in and mentioned that to the uncle, it was very easy for me to express my thoughts to her and said, hey, if Chad is really seriously thinking of becoming a full-time agent, yeah, have him give me a call and we'll see if there's a fit. So that's how it happened.
Oh, wow. And you guys still have this mentor-mentee relationship to this day, right?
Yes, yeah, hasn't stopped, and I continually, turn to Rod at times, for advice, and he still offers it, even unsolicited at times. but it's good, you want that in a mentor,
Yeah, that's important.
Yeah, I think when we first got started, you felt like a responsibility, bringing the person in. But after a while, you develop a chemistry and understanding, and that relationship just continues.
So one question I do want to ask you on that note is, how has your mentor-mentee relationship evolved over the years?
Well, it may have started just with me being a mentor to Chad. However, I remember it must be about 15 years ago. I often wondered with the newspaper articles and just the news about real estate saying the techniques and the way real estate is going to be bought and sold is changing. And I said, wow, I've been in the business this long and now it's going to change. And I said, you know what? I'm going to seek out about a few agents. In this case, there were 6 of them. I sought out 6 agents and said, hey, if you guys don't mind meeting with me, I'd like to find out about social media and all this tech stuff.
Wow, look at you, Rod.
If I can learn that from you, but you know what? I might be able to also let you guys know, offer to you, how things were done in the past. I mean, how we do our business. And so there was a mutual understanding and a desire to learn from each other. And that's how we've got started. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's awesome. So it's evolves from you being the sole mentor, just providing information and grooming someone until the point when the tables start to, even out a little bit, I guess, so to speak, where you can learn from each other.
Yeah. Well, I definitely think it's a symbiotic relationship. I mean, there's something you can gain. Obviously, you can gain a lot as a mentee, right, from your mentor, and the knowledge transfer that occurs from that. But as a mentor, you can also learn some things as well.
Sure.
And what the end product that you get in that relationship is this blending of the best practices of everything. So, it's a benefit to both parties if they can implement that.
Yeah.
So,
I think in any relationship, I think we'll all agree that it's a give and take, right? I mean, if it's only a taking point of view, only a giving, it just doesn't work.
Yeah.
So I think in our relationships, it's been that kind of give and take, yeah.
Mm-hmm. Many mentor relationships evolve with unwritten rules. What would you guys say is that key ingredient of the synergy in making this relationship successful in a long-term relationship?
That's a good question.
Well, I can say that trust is the biggest thing for me. And so knowing that I have somebody that I trust to provide me insight, advice, be a truth teller, and I know that what is given to me is for my own benefit. That's the biggest thing, and that takes time to develop. So a lot of our interactions aren't just of the business development nature. There's a social aspect to it too, because you have to develop that rapport and learn about each other's desires even outside of work. And I know what his plans are, from a personal level. He knows what mine are, what my important facets of my life are, whether it's my family, my children, my goals outside of work. All that is encompassing in that relationship, which then fortifies that trust. So,
a key ingredient, I think, is the ability to listen. When a mentee comes to you and they have a question, the ability to just focus in and really understand, be patient. When you can do that, I think the suggestions and just the offerings that you make to the mentee are more meaningful to them. So listening, I think, is a key ingredient.
You know, you guys bring up so much good attributes, you know, trust, listening, patience, you know, all in this relationship, you know, and that's what makes it different against coaching, right? And showing the true care and compassion for someone's well-being and being successful without expecting any monetary, you know, a reward or compensation, you know, that is, you know, comes from the heart, right? Yeah. Everything comes from the heart. Yeah. And you know, you guys just display that relationship and that you know, success with mentorship and having them within your business.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, which is amazing because even Chad has carried on to mentor other agents. You know, Rod, I know you've mentored other agents, including Chad, you know, so that relationship of mentorship that you guys have built has really kind of snowballed to other agents and other people around you, which is incredible.
Chad has mentored me too, but not
Rod
as
too.
Yeah, and Rod, both of them. Yeah. But I have a different relationship with Rod with my Chad, because Chad would crack the whip, so he'd give me tough love, and I'll get good. He's the big brother. He talk about the truth teller. He tell you when I'm out of line, you know.
I will say though that is the response. The mentee has a responsibility, and that responsibility there actually is twofold. One is if you're gonna get some fruit, or I should say advice or consultation from your mentor, you know, it behooves the mentee to implement. You know, there's nothing worse than, you know, a mentor spending their time with a mentee and that mentee doesn't implement even facets of what they, you know, provided you. Because one of the fruits I think for a mentor is to see that thing come to fruition, right? And so that's one of the responsibilities. The other is because I've been blessed, you know, for example, to have a mentor like Rod, you know, there's a responsibility and a duty to then pass that on. And I think that's just kind of culturally what we do at locations, right? You know, and that's how you grow generationally and how you last more than 50 years in this business, right? But it's that passing on of knowledge, that transfer of knowledge, and then taking that to the next person, and then they go and take that to the next person. And so that's probably the most, probably the greatest fruit of this whole thing, and the greatest satisfaction you get from it.
Yeah, that's one of the more fulfilling things and benefits from a mentor's point of view. In fact, one of the lessons I've learned is that mentorship is a building block. You know, you can't do it just in a year. And I think some relationships end too soon. They just go for a year. It may be 2, 5+ years before you really see the fruits of all that relationship that you've had together. And like Chad is saying, you know, the most fulfilling part is when you can see some of your mentees passing it along to others, where they're mentoring other people. So that's really one of the nice things about being a mentor.
So Chad, I have a question for you. What would you say is one of the hardest tasks or challenges that Rod has posed to you as a mentor that you've had to grow through?
Ooh, yeah. I mean, there are many, but I'll give you the first one, and it kind of goes to why, you know, without a mentor like Rod, I wouldn't be able to have done this business for this many years. And when I came over to locations, Rod brought me over. I had some experience in the business. I had some success, you know, but when he would sit with me on my buyer consults or my seller, you know, listing presentations, he would provide me feedback. We'd have a debrief after. And so having that opportunity to work with him on certain things and have him provide that feedback, I basically remember feeling like I've been doing it all wrong, you know? And so we really kind of reconstructed how I did my presentations and to meet the objectives of a presentation, which is to determine the obtainable needs of the prospect, right? And to sort of satisfy their needs, right? Convince them that you could satisfy their needs. And so it was you have to have a lot of humility to go through that process. And it's almost like an athlete who was doing something for so long and then realize he's doing it the wrong way, and then having to rebuild the way he throws the ball. That was tough, but it was the best thing, and I was having him to help guide me on that, to implement certain facets into my presentation was I owe my career to it.
And learning from both aspects, what you did and what Rod shared, and that's a part of our culture. We shorten the learning curve here. Like Chad was saying, he learned more in mentorship that would take 15 or 20 years if he hadn't had a mentor. So
I'd like to add to that by saying, though, that there are many times where, in fact, I can still remember the group had a question. They were doing very well with their sales, but their production was so high that they now found that how they balanced it off with their family became a problem. So that became a question, well, how do I balance my family with my high productivity? And in this case, being that I was familiar with the other agents and other partners, I brought in a mother, a female partner, who had 2 children. She was doing very well with her sales. Her disposition was always happy. So by inviting that person to come in and discuss that matter with the group, I thought was very meaningful. They got first-hand experience. But as a mentor, you may not have all the answers, but you know where the resources within the company are, and you can share it with others. Yeah.
That's really good.
yeah, and a good mentor will provide information that the mentee would never know that they needed, right? Chad's bring in financial planners, financial advisors to our meetings, our mentorship, and I've learned that, hey, this is something I needed, but I would have not known if Chad didn't share it with us. So that's a good job of a mentor to know what possibly they could benefit from. So
yeah, oftentimes a mentor is also a resource allocator, I like to say. They're not the only resource, but they bring other resources to the table. And what happens from there, at least in my experience, is some of the experienced agents that he brought in to speak with a group of us, many of those have become mentors for me as well. And I can look to them for certain specialties, that they have. And so then you're just surrounded with this cadre of, resource. And so, but it started with this initial mentorship relationship and then grew.
I think Chad would also say that he may have 4 or 5 mentors within the company and outside the company. So I am not there.
But you were the first, Rod. You were the first. That's what matters.
you mean you can't just have one mentor?
That's a good question, though, right? Yeah? Would you say, Chad, since Rod mentioned that you do have multiple mentors, would you say that your life, your business is better because of that?
I think so. I mean, it never hurts to have more than one perspective.
Yeah.
In life, if you can be, my mom used to say, you can be a sponge, right? You absorb, right? All this knowledge, and then, you try to discern, from those different pieces, like, how best to move forward. And so the more honest input you can get, the more perspectives, the better your decision, in each step you take. So, and there are times when, it depends on what facet you're trying to address, and I still go to Rod, actually, in every decision I make. If I'm going to move a different position, take on another role within the industry or whatnot, I still consult with him, just to get his piece, before I make the decision. So
I'm curious, what's one of the biggest lessons that you've learned being a mentor to not only to Chad, but to so many people?
I think the biggest challenge is time. most relationships between a mentor and mentee, they're respectful of each other's time. But there will be occasions where the mentee would come to you and have an issue or something that's bothering them. And so from a mentor's point of view, the ability to drop all that you're doing and to focus in on what's causing this dilemma, what's the problem. Just the ability to then sit and understand and focus in on that question, I think goes a long way. I mean, that's the kind of relationship that builds trust, becomes genuine. And I think both parties appreciate each other a lot more when that happens. Yeah.
I'm glad you brought up time, Rod. It's ironic that the mentor puts in so much time in the relationship because he's teaching the mentee their mistakes so that they don't make the mistakes. But the benefactor of the time is the mentee, because now they've shortened the learning curve. They can do things and more efficiently, all because of your investment in your time. So that's, people don't realize how much involvement and dedication that a mentor gives to the mentee.
I think I need to clarify that just a little bit. But in that process, the mentor gets so much more. You think it's not just a matter of giving. You get what I give in terms of a relationship, I get it back tenfold. And believe it or not, the company gets it almost 100-fold. I mean, it just snowballs, One to one, then 1 to 6, and then 6 goes to, it multiplies. And so that kind of relationship is good, it's great to have, yeah.
Yeah, that's amazing, because that's the thing I love about locations is that we have that built into our culture. A lot of other companies don't have that, and a lot of it is because it's not something a company can just choose to incorporate in their culture. It has to come from the people organically, and that's the type of people we have.
And the environment, is important. Some environments in real estate, they're very competitive. On the mainland,
absolutely.
People are competing each other within the company. But our culture here in location, we don't compete within, we help and grow within and grow and be successful together and,
Better together.
Better together. Or partners in your success, right?
Okay, so as we wrap up, we'd really love to hear from you guys. If you have a final piece of advice for our viewers, or even, I'm sure, everyone who's watching is curious, how do I even find a mentor?
Well, I think number one, you got to be present. So you can't find a mentor if you're not at the office or at, the trainings, the functions. You got to be present. You got to get to know people within, the company. And our company does a really good job of creating venues for these relationships to spawn organically. But you got to be present, right? Otherwise you miss it. So, we have a sales meeting every month, and there's a breakfast. There's a purpose for that breakfast, and it's to network internally and to cultivate relationships, break bread with your colleagues. And oftentimes that's a place, for example, where many mentorship relationships form. And I know that I've been able to develop those in that venue, and fortunately I had Rod to start off, but you can never be short of good mentors. So.
Yeah, the company does a great job in providing opportunities for the relationships to flourish and connect. And the company is founded on socializing and partying. So that's what locations are known for. But we're the best at what we do.
Definitely connecting together, connecting with each other, and connecting with our clients.
Bringing our agents together is what we do best, and that's the best way to you get to know mentors around the company. Rod?
Yeah, I agree with Chad. I think it starts with just talking or doing a task with someone. Just by having a one-to-one relationship, then you can see, in fact, if you don't mind my saying, it's almost like dating. When you start dating, you start getting to learn about a person, see what their likes and dislikes are, what their character is like, do I like the things that they like? Do I think we can have a relationship? And you gotta like the person too. I mean, every mentor-mentee relationship, there is you've gotta like the person. You gotta
be chemistry, right?
Yeah, you gotta love to be around that person also. And so it's like dating. And once you start establishing that, I think every person they know what they're looking for. And if they see something in a mentor that might cause that relationship to flourish, then it'll grow. Organically, it'll grow. Yeah.
Yeah, I love that. So Rod, one final question for you as a mentor, not to take you by surprise, but are you proud of Chad and what you've accomplished raising this mentee?
Definitely. I mean, he has not done it only within the company, but he has taken it outside into the board level, with our association. So to be able to do it not only internally but outside takes a lot of time, takes a lot of energy, and you got to be a good time manager to do all of that. And so I like seeing Chad playing it forward, helping others, and I think in that whole process he's gaining something too.
Yeah. You've done a good job, Rod.
and Chad, let's say Rod does retire, which we don't know when he's going to retire, right? What would you like to say if he did retire? Anything you want to say to Rod about his mentorship and him mentoring you?
Yeah, I think I wouldn't be, in the seat I am today without Rod. And just to be able to have this, when I was a sales agent, have a career that, is provided for my family, allowed me the freedoms to pursue, other interests, but also be able to be there for my family. That all comes from the tutorship from Rod, and I can't put a price on that. So the way I try to again pay it back is to get that to more people. And I talked to a lot of experienced agents in the business. Real estate is very individualistic driven, right? Individual accolades, right? But one thing I love about what Rod does, and a lot of our original founding partners in the company, they've made it where you don't have to do it by yourself. When I used to go to a listing presentation and I tell the customer, you're not just hiring me, you're hiring my whole company, because you're tapping into not just my knowledge, but knowledge of others such as Rod and other people in the company that are willing to transfer that knowledge, answer your question, be a resource. So it's a benefit to the customer too when you have this setup. People forget about that. It's not a benefit just to me. And so my customers benefit because of this type of relationship. So it makes for an overall better business model. And as you said earlier, Brian, it's not easy to duplicate. You have to have your company has to have that heart in order to create that environment. But if they treat it more like an individualistic thing, it's very hard to achieve that. And that's the thing I'm most grateful for, being at locations and people like Rod pouring into people like me and continue to pour into people like me. So.
For over 50 years, we've been continuing this successful relationships and building it.
Yeah. We've been enjoying the fruits of that gift of mentorship that Rod and others like you have brought to the firm. Thank you so much.
Our pleasure.
Yeah. Thank you, Chad. Thank you, Rod, for being on the show. It's been really great. We have learned so much from them.
Yes, we did. Yes, that's awesome.
And we hope that all of you who are watching have learned so much about mentorship from Rod and Chad and the discussion we've had today. So I'm Kiki King.
And I'm Brian Balisican.
And stay tuned, subscribe, and keep watching for more content about how to build a successful, thriving, and well-rounded business. We'll see you next time.
Aloha.